All right, we are live, and I think I want to turn the music down just a skosh. Welcome everyone to Table Talk, where we talk all things tabletop. I'm your host, the Bella Gamer, and unfortunately, I will not be joined today by my co-host, as he is currently on a vacation with his family. So, no Nurgle counter this time, but that's okay. We can forgive him, at least a little bit. But today we're going to be talking about all the new things coming out with War of Immortals. It's going to be really good. I'm super excited. I'm still trying to adjust this volume. That's better. And I'm just here to answer all your questions while I'm getting in the process of getting the videos out, you know. Gotta pace the videos, otherwise it crashes my algorithm, which is not good, but I'm glad to see everyone is really picking up on all the stuff. You can see it on the Reddit now. Got shouted out by Michael Sayer, current director of Rules and Lore. So it's all good. Also, let's see. 2 for Fun. Hello, how are you doing? How many feats are there for the Mythic variant rules in general? Would it be too many to add retroactively to a campaign in progress? I'm doing fine, and sure, let me go ahead and look at that, shall we? I'll do this. I don't think there's a ton, but I do think there's one for, like, at least every level. Except first, I suppose. Let's see. I would say that there is... Oh, I see. It ends at 10th level. And to be fair, I've not read everything so far, so. Ah, I see. So I would say there's another class worth, because there's a bunch of feats at each of the levels up until 12th level, and then you need to take your Mythic Calling, which is kind of like an additional archetype tossed on top. So it's quite a lot, but depending on the pacing of your campaign, I'm more than sure you can deliver these feats in a regular enough fashion that it doesn't seem too disruptive. But that's really up to how you and your group like to play. If you are fast progression, which I know a lot of people like to do, it might be a lot, so I'm not sure. The exemplar Scar of the Survivor allowed for unlimited out-of-combat healing. Let's see here. Scar of the Survivor. Don't see any traits here. Yeah, it looks like it works exactly the same as it did before. It says 1 action transcendence. No scar, but this. Your wounds knit shut with hardly a scratch. You regain 1d8 hit points every odd level. And yeah, it's just a 1 action. theoretically, well, you could only do this once every 6 seconds, so you could do it 10 times a minute, which is a lot. And unlike many other variations of this kind of feat, I'm not seeing any specific thing that prevents you from doing it within a 10-minute span. Let's see. Yeah. There's no cost. Other than an action cost. Where would I place Exemplar and Animus in a class power tier list? I heard Animus is like S tier, but requires a lot of finesse to play. I mean, most... Well, I don't know where... Like, a lot of people are doing these weird misrepresentations of the rules. Like, Animus has the same hitting power as a martial character, which is not true. I don't know where the people are doing that kind of math. Animus hits the same as a martial character up until level 5. And then after that, they fall behind by 1 point. And then at level 10, they're behind by 3 points. And then level 11, they catch up 1 more point. But it doesn't really match. So I don't know where a lot of people are getting a lot of the numbers. I would say Animus specifically, like a A-tier class. It's really good. It's a spellcaster, you know? It does a lot of spellcastery things. It doesn't do anything super wowing. A lot of people have these white room combat situations, but that doesn't come up a lot in actual play if you play with actually varied combats. Exemplar, kind of similar. I think, and it's been mentioned before that there's going to be a little bit of errata with some of the stuff already. So we'll see when the book actually releases. I haven't been given that information quite yet. But like with what we just saw, you can get a lot of healing right away. Granted, it's not like full healing outside of combat is not something Paizo wants you to do. So I haven't seen anything Exemplar does yet that really makes them that powerful. So like another A tier. Good. Another martial like any other. Any new low-level feats for Animus that you find interesting? Okay, so this isn't like the fully... This will... Well, this is what was going out to print. The book I have is going out to print. That doesn't mean that there's not errata. It's just going to be online errata, so... early level Animus feats I found interesting. To be fair, I don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of what they used to have before. Not really. The spirit familiar stuff is really cool, but it mostly just, you just have a familiar. That's kind of it. Grasping Spirit spell is kind of cool. It's a spell shape. It's a level 2 spell shape, 1 action. And you just increase a spell's range by 30 feet. Or if it's a touch spell, it goes to 30 feet. And when you hit the enemy on top of the other spell effects, the enemy needs to make a fort save against your spell DC. On failure, they're dragged 30 feet to you directly. So Grasping Spirit spell works really, really well with Embodiment of War, because you can use something like Weapon Storm and you can drag enemies to you in a hail of weapons, which is kind of cool. Hi, any new character you're interested in playing after reading the book? Not particularly. I have a player playing, for those who don't know, for you, Juan, we have a new Pathfinder live play for a completely homebrewed setting called Plague Watch. And in the Discord, there's art for the characters already. We're starting this early next year. It depends. My daughter will be born in January, so we'll have to see when. It's sometime after February, I think we'll have Plague Watch. But one of the players is playing a Exemplar, and I'm very excited to see that. But as for me, I don't know. Exemplar's okay, but not the most exciting martial, in my opinion, at least to me. And Animist feels like it's interesting. It's probably a more stimulating caster, but I haven't seen anything that made me be like, wow, I need to play that necessarily. Not that it's bad. I just, not my particular taste. I'm a very more, like, I don't know. I like skill-based classes, and I like classes that really have you thinking. Like, Inventor is probably my favorite class. That or Investigator. Really, really good. Yes, Dead Phoenix. I've been seeing all the hubbub, and yeah, people are blowing things way out of proportion. It's just new book shock. A lot of people are oh, thank you. A lot of people are just seeing things and they're giving very superficial opinions, and no actual play or anything it has been taken in mind, like, oh, you've never played a Thought-Meters before or anything like that. It's not a big deal. How many icons are there? There are 21 icons. I got a totally, say, Rising Star Pathfinder 2E. I got a totally different one for you. I think a lot of people have an expectation of Mythic being a lot more like the 1E version. The recent reveals of how that system works, I don't think most people have the right kind of expectation. What do you feel? I'm not super familiar with the Mythic rules in first edition, but considering how radically different even feat interaction is between first and second edition, I don't think any expectations of something being like first edition is going to meet that person's expectations. They're still real strong. They're very strong. Mythic rules are for people who want to have a power fantasy. They're not like so powerful, but you can consider it having like an additional level onto your character by just having Mythic rules implemented. I've heard the Exemplar archetype is juice. I'm sensing a lot of ancient elves in the future. Yeah. Let me read some more questions and then we'll talk about some of the stuff. Hey BLG, I was curious. This is by Still Chewy. Most of the Mythic dedication interact with Kinesis since they don't make strikes or use spells. Are they limited to just a couple of the more support style dedications? That's very interesting, and that's kind of an ongoing problem with kineticists that I don't know is going to be addressed right away. If I look at some of the feats, for instance, I would say that there's still a lot of really good, like, there's certain reactions and stuff like that. I would say it's not bad, but definitely something like that feels kind of bad for Kineticist, but Kineticist is such a juice class anyway that I don't know. I don't think it's going to be that big of an issue, if I'm going to be honest. But yeah, that's something that I do feel like the whole strike situation or attack situation is going to constantly cause problems, but if I'm gonna be honest, straight up, kineticists are still eating good regardless. So. And they're definitely not just to the support ones. It's just, again, like, if your only view of combat is what your bonus to hit is or what kind of strikes you can make, then you haven't played enough combats to know, like, how real rough the combat can be if you don't have answers for certain kinds of situations that are not number related. So... what does the new witch archetype look like? The witch archetype is very interesting. So the witch archetype is the seneschal. And the seneschal's interesting. It's all about... So when you pick up the initial feat, you gain the witch's charge feat, which gives you a lot of extra abilities for focusing on one individual. And so you kind of get this thing where your witch is kind of watching over your party mates, which is kind of fun. They get a spell shape real early called Seneschal Spell that allows you to treat your charge as long as they're within 30 feet of you as the origin for spells you cast, which is honestly really, really cool. And I really like level 8 feat they have called Watcher on the Wall. For 2 actions, they can etch their patron symbol onto a wall or something, and they can just perceive through that symbol no matter the distance. And it lasts until you make another symbol or you destroy it. That's really cool and very helpful outside. So you get a lot of, like, your character's kind of everywhere kind of stuff. Stuff I really like in particular because it makes some big brain plays a lot easier to do. So it's really, really good. Let's see... Are there scarf icons? There are icons that can be scars, yeah. Some of the icons are more just general things or can be, like, represented in different ways. So if you want one to be a scarf specifically, and I think there actually might be one that is just straight up a scarf, now that I'm thinking about it. Let's see here. Like, Pelt of the Beast could just be a scarf. Skybearer's belt is a cloth belt. So, yeah, that can also just be a scarf. So, yeah. I was super hyped for Blood Rager to come back, but from what I've heard, Seneschal sounds like a sleeper hit for me. That's fair. Blood Rager also is super sick. I had a buddy, a longtime friend, message me and then be like, hey, tell me about Blood Rager. So, you know, people are using their connections to get the information. How do the new weapons and armor look? Heard that there is a combat fishing pole. I would not be surprised. I bet it's also a halfling weapon. I haven't looked at the gear all too much, to be honest. But I can give it a look. I'm not in the vault yet. Oh, and there's just straight up mythic runes. Yeah, there's an ore you can fight with. A warglaive. Let's see, what's warglaive got? Interesting. Oh, I'm dyslexic. It's wargavel, not glaive. I'm dyslexic. My bad. I'm literally dyslexic though. So yeah, it's wargavel. Yeah, there's a combat fishing pole. A gladius, which is not a bad sword. It's a D6 deadly D10 sword, which is pretty good. The Makuhito, that's a pretty cool weapon. Also sick. D8 slashing. It's a two-handed weapon with backswing tearing. Ooh, what's tearing? Also war javelins. Ooh. I need to look up tearing. The weapon's edge, when you hit a creature with this weapon, it deals an additional 1. Oh my god, a trait that just does persistent weapon damage when you deal damage. That's really good. It gets up to 2 persistent bleeding if there's greater striking. Mako Heal is insane for that. That's really, really cool. I love new traits like that. That's very awesome. I'm really looking forward to a deep dive of Mythic rules, but I think that's too in-depth for this stream. Yeah, not going to go into the whole thing. The Mythic rules video will be coming out tomorrow, and that's where I'm going to be doing the whole thing. Though, if you want to see the stuff now, I know Ronald, the rules lawyer, did come out with the Mythic rules stuff. So if you want to watch his content and leave him a like, I'd really appreciate it, and you can get what you want too. Did they post any rules on monster stat blocks for Mythic creatures? Did they post any? I don't know. I have Mythic monster stats in here, this book, though. And Mythic monsters are kind of like Monster Plus. You can consider them being kind of like a level or two above what their actual level indicates, making them very challenging, though not necessarily reflected in their straight hit numbers, but what they're capable of. So you're not necessarily fighting a creature that is more likely to crit you, more just you're fighting a creature that is like using, for instance, there's a Mythic Ogre boss, and it has a Mythic weapon called the Gut Ripper. And it allows it to strike all enemies in a length of up to 60 feet, which is kind of nuts. Items, relics, yeah, there's tons of items, tons of relics. I'll probably mention that in a later video as well. Toluf says, hey there, not having much to say or chat about War of Immortals or Pathfinder 2E, just a thought I would drop by and say I have enjoyed and found your Lancer content very useful. Thank you, Toluf. I definitely will be getting back to it. I was taking a bit of a break from content just to work on myself. I've also been going to the gym and just been super sore a lot of days. So I've been very slow, but I will, like, I see people who talk about the Fabula Ultima stuff. I will talk about Fabula Ultima in the future, and as well, I will definitely be talking about, why is the music so quiet? Sorry about that. That was a very quiet part of the song. I will get back to that, but it's something that's going to have to come with time, unfortunately, as right now we're in a big book release, and we're pushing to 10K. We'll be at 8K probably by tomorrow, if I was to hazard a guess. And we gotta push to the remaining 2K with the remainder of the year. I believe we can do it on this channel. A lot of people have been joining, but it's been busy. So yeah, Toluf, if you enjoy the content, just know that there are going to be some Lancer builds coming out in the future, as well as some more, some other stuff. Let's see. A lot of love for the Seneschal. A lot of people hyped for the other stuff. What are your thoughts on the Nephilim content? Okay. So, and this is by Kokami03. So for me, I'm not gonna lie, I have a bit of a bias because I picked Ganzi specifically because I love their connection to like the Norse kind of chaos elements, like the Aener or the Valkyries and stuff like that. I even made a character based on that. So seeing new Nephilim feats that are more directly tied to that is really cool, and I think it's really awesome. We're just kind of getting a lot of the same options that we ended up losing in the remaster, though I do think there's some other things, but I haven't been able to go that in depth into it yet. So I gotta say, like, I'm into it, but I have a very strong tie. Oh, I don't have my necklace. I am wearing a Viking shirt though, so obviously not biased. Also, check out Into the AM. I don't think I put the link in at least in the YouTube version, but in my videos there's a link to Into the AM. Their shirts are really nice. So if you guys want to get some really nice graphic tees for like a little less than 20 bucks, honestly, it's a killer deal. So, if you want, I'm just offering because I genuinely do like these shirts. They do feel really nice. Let's see. Any cool new body icons? I don't have this encyclopedic knowledge of like what was there before and what wasn't, but I know there's a lot of really good ones. I mean, I like Skin Hard as Horn. I know that one was in the playtest though. And we already talked about earlier how the Scar of the Survivor just gives you insane regeneration outside of combat. One thing that I do find interesting that a lot of the weapon ones have been opened up to specific types of unarmed strikes that deal types of damages. So something like, and someone pointed out to me in one of my videos, Gleaming Sword, I had misread it. It's not sword or knife group or a melee weapon. It's a melee unarmed attack that deals slashing damage. So Gleaming Blade can actually be applied to a Claw Dancer build if you really want to, which I think is insane. That's really, really cool. So Claw Dancer with Gleaming Blade, that's really interesting if you ask me personally. Hands of the Wildling I think is also good, but I believe that was also just in the playtest before. So I don't know, but I do know that I think a lot of them got opened up to unarmed strikes, which makes them very solid. Interested in another Wiz Caster multi-class archetype. What are your thoughts? Let's look at I haven't looked at the Animists multi-class too much. I don't know. 1 second. Vessel. Is the word vessel on this page? Because if you can't get the vessel spells through multiclassing, I would find that very tragic. No. I don't think you can get the vessel spells through multiclassing, which is very sad. Still, I do like it. They do have apparition magic, so you can get additional spell slots outside of the basic. So you do get prepared and repertoire spells through this particular archetype, which is pretty good. Oh, you can't gain wandering feats either. Interesting. Double checking real quick. No, I don't think you can get their divine spells. That's insane. That's a little rough, if I'm going to be honest. Because you only get one apparition. Yeah, So, it's okay. I mean, you get some interesting extra bonus spell slots, which is really cool. And I like some of the theming behind it. But not being able to get those vessel spells kind of sucks. Let's see. I'm a little behind on the comments, trying to keep up. Let's see. Do you think there are any archetype multiclass that gel particularly well with animists? That an animist would take? And this is by Janos Suhai. I would say, man, not being able to pick up the Wandering is also kind of lame. You know what? Honestly, I think Animus would do really well with Inventor. Personally, if you're going with like a close range and weapon embodiment one, or embodiment and battle style, then having a really badass weapon is just never a bad idea. So there's that. Also, honestly, any of the skill monkey base classes I think would work with Animus, because Animus does not get a lot of skill proficiencies. They just get a ton of, they just get a ton of lores, which may or may not be helpful. How many pages are in this book? 226 pages. So it's not one of the biggest books that they've released, but it's definitely not bad. 200 pages for a splat book is huge. Hey, Nothing. How you doing? Is there range weapon support for the Exemplar? Oh, totally. For sure. They got a lot of feats based on it, and a lot of the icons just apply to weapons, not melee weapons specifically. So there's a lot of range support. And even if you want to go throne, there's some pretty good throne builds in here as well. Oh, you know what? I may be wrong. No, a lot of these are just melee weapons. The Star Shot is, I think, the only one, actually. Now I'm looking at it. Oh, an Unfailing Bow. So there's 2 range weapon icons specifically. Though, to be fair, a lot of the icons apply to, like, a particular type of damage, too. But there are 2 range ones. And tons of feats based on range stuff, so... an Inventor Exemplar with fire instead of spirit damage is just so bad guy. That's hype. HK47, I'm with you there. That sounds like a sick build. I'm sure druids are super happy. Finally have a spellcasting class they can multi-class into at full power. True, honestly. Thoughts on Vindicator? I was a big fan of the Inquisitor in first edition. I really liked it, and while it does definitely not have the same feel as it did before, I do like some of its general features. It's definitely like they have anti-magic in here. Vindicator's Mark also sounds pretty interesting to play around with, and the I think the general idea of it is really good. I'll have a full video on it where I get my thoughts on. I haven't had the chance to kind of read through everything because, it takes me a good amount of time. It takes me 7-8 hours to like produce one of the videos. And when I'm done making a video, the last thing I want to do is just read through the book. I want to kind of sit and chillax. Also, I've just been super busy, so haven't had a chance yet. I'll definitely look into it. But I mean, Vindicator looked super interesting to me. And the fact that you get a status bonus to your spell to your spell attack rolls against hunted prey, and they take a -1 to saving throws against divine spells you cast with your Vindicator's Edge, makes for a very interesting magic casting ranger build, which I think is super cool. And going Vindicator into like something like Animist, that would be kind of cool. Which class archetype did you find the most interesting? Exemplar, by far. Exemplar's icons, the fact that you just straight up get an icon that you can use, can change so many styles of play. Yeah, sure, everyone's talking about the damage thing or whatever, which is okay, I guess. It's more, for sure. But just some of the other features and some of their transcendent abilities seems really cool and would be really fun. Barrow's Edge specifically, you can make a very edgy character with Barrow's Edge, the weapon literally rattling around waiting to cut down its next foe. Such good stuff for some edgy storytelling. I love it. I'm great. tuning in here every Thursday. Love the updates here. Face blue smiling. Oh, there's probably a thing I couldn't see on the... I see. There you go. Thank you, Chase. Love having you here. See, the lores have a potential if you know that you're going to be doing in that day, but that can be hard to use as well. Yeah, I mean, they can be good. Lores are very solid. Like, volcano lore can be used on any creature that can be found in a volcano. Is that a lot? Probably not, but if you're going into a volcano, probably helpful. What does the Avenger dedication feat give? Let's see here. The Avenger feat itself, you gain a status bonus, +1 status bonus to saving throws against divine spells and effects that deal spirit damage. So any effect that deals spirit damage. And you can use religion to coerce, gather information, or track as long as you are in town or a city with a church dedicated to your deity, extracting clues from the faithful with displays of your piety. So the dedication itself just kind of gives you a little bit of defense, but I absolutely love the ability to use religion for coercing, gathering information, or tracking. That sounds super fun. Depending on the style campaign you're in, that can be really, really handy. And just the like narrative implications of that, like that opens up a lot of story potential. So that's actually really, really cool. Do you have a favorite of the new iconic art based on the Mythic paths? I mean, Frumbus just being a little mad lad is kind of fun, if I'm gonna be honest. But let me take a look here. I'm not a big fan of the... oh man, I don't even know the bard's name, honestly. What is the bard iconic's name? I literally have no idea. I know most of the iconics, but not the bard for some reason. The bard one, though, Lem? Oh, Lem. With the Ascended Celestial, not a big fan. I mean, like, it's kind of cool, whatever, but I'm just... meh. Yeah, I mean, so far from what I've seen, Frumbus. Just Frumbus being a little psycho on a rat dog thing. Kind of fun. Hello, can you share what the mythic destinies are? This is from Farid Shayek. And yes, I can and will do so. Let's see here. Okay, so we have the Apocalypse Rider. We have the Archfiends. We have the Ascended Celestial. The Beast Lord. That's kind of cool. The Broken Chain. Eternal Legends. Oh my god. Man, I don't know the monk's iconic either. The monk looks badass in that one, though. Godling. Prophesized Monarch. Wild Spell. That one also looks kind of cool. Yeah, that's all of them. So yeah, honestly, I'm very interested in getting into these. I haven't gotten into them as of yet, but I'm definitely interested in the Beast Lord. The Beast Lord looks really interesting. I'm always a big fan of animal companion based builds, so that might be really, really cool. Thank you. Let's see. I was talking more about class archetypes rather than the classes. For when you were asking about which class archetype. The class archetypes I found most interesting. Blood Rager. Blood Rager's definitely the one I think I'm the most interested in right now. I think the potential of it is really cool. Let's see. Just joined. Is there any info on the class archetypes for the new classes? What would you like to know? All right. Have I caught up with chat? Oh my goodness. Nothing Maelstrom orientated. Always loved Proteans. Are you talking about the Nephilim? There might be. Let me double check real quick. Bum ba bum bum bum. Yes, we have Protean kin stuff. So a lot of stuff for like resisting chaos, tail feats to be like tail feats, all that kind of stuff. A level 17 feat called Pandemonium Eruption. It's for Protean kin specifically. It's a 2-action once per day. Each creature within 15 feet of you takes 14 d6 acid, electricity, or sonic damage chosen randomly for each target. Each target then receives a basic reflex saving throw against your class DC or spell DC, whichever is higher, and is then subjugated to the type of damage of which you can currently have resistance through your Protean kin lineage. Takes a -2. If it's so if you have the Protean kin where they have the ability to resist certain types of damage, if that damage is the same type as the random damage, the enemy takes a -2 to the save. So there's a random chance they have a less likely chance to get through it. That's kind of cool. Any target that critically fails to save is also confused until the end of their next turn. So yeah, there's some pretty good Protean kin stuff if you really, really like the Chaos and Maelstrom stuff. Tarbophon, or however it's spelled, should be a Godling Lich. Probably, yeah. I'd agree. Oh, man. Took me about 45 minutes, but caught up with chat finally. Well, while you guys are getting your questions together, be free to ask any kind of questions about anything. I'll do my best to elucidate as best as I can. The book is really good. I'm very happy with it so far. I like how a lot of it is... It's not as power gamey as I feel like a lot of people think it's gonna be. Like, yeah, of course, the Mythic rules in general give your character immense power. I would say not necessarily as much power as dual classing is, if I'm gonna be straight up honest. But it's gonna be, your characters are gonna be able to do some really cool things, and Mythic proficiencies are bonkers. It's literally like more often than not, hey, do you want to crit a specific check during a session? And you get rewarded for playing towards your destiny in some form or fashion. So I think it's really good for narrative play, honestly. I'm definitely haven't played with it yet. I definitely would like to see people actually go through with the Mythic rules, and I'd like to see like how they felt the general adventure went with it. That is something I think is very, very big. Sure. This isn't a question for War of Immortals exactly, but anyone else wish there was an alchemical magical soda items? There are some. My fiance has been taking some inspiration from some of the D&D books that have come out, like the Griffin Saddlebags, and using their magic items in Pathfinder instead, which has been a lot of fun. But I definitely could go for some more magical food. I hope we get another treasure vault in the near future. That'd be really fun, honestly. Oh yeah, you know what? Let's talk about the icon thing, shall we? One of the things the role lawyer mentioned is the mythic proficiencies actually gets weaker at higher levels, goes from +8 to +2 if you got legendary. Though to be fair, most martials will still be getting +4 when used on attacks. Yeah, I mean, I think I understand the reason for that is because like your character is already like a legend, so the proficiency difference is really not that big of a deal. I haven't looked into it yet, so I can't really speak to the numbers part of it quite yet. But we will see tomorrow when I get some rest, and I'll probably wake up super early. I'll be reading through the section. I'll probably be reading through it after stream too. So, you know, it's a big section of the book. There's a lot going on with the stuff. And then there's the variance rules added on top that I've had a little bit beforehand. So they recently released. So it's there's a lot. Piro Sopis says, what's your favorite book from Paizo? I really liked Gods and Magic, though the Tiansha character guide is really, really good, actually. The Tiansha character guide has a lot of fun stuff in it, but I'm going to hazard a guess I'm really going to like Divine Mysteries. New gods are always really interesting, and getting some of the domains. Like, domains are so cool. I love domain spells. I think they're really, really good. In all honesty, seeing some of the new domain spells that they're going to add, plus Investigator, which has for a long time been my favorite class, getting a new class archetype that is magic orientated. Oh, it's exactly what I wanted. So I'm going to hazard a guess Divine Mysteries is going to end up being my favorite book overall. But we won't know till next month. By the way, if you want to see that stuff ahead of time, subscribe to the channel. I'm likely to get it early, like I got this book, and you're probably gonna get that information early, so now is a great time to subscribe. Actually, that's also something that like I figured I'd mention. I just for funsies, I don't have a lot of channel members, but for my channel members, as soon as I'm done with a video, whether it's 2 hours ahead or like 8 hours ahead, I release my videos early for my channel members. So if you do want to see a video like a few hours earlier than normal, you can be a channel member on the channel. I'm just doing it because why not? You know, like I mostly wait for my 10 a.m. release time, but I figured why not do it for members? So if you want to be a member and get a video slightly earlier, channel membership. But honestly, if you don't want to be a channel member, you can just wait a few hours. I don't really care. But I figured I'd mention because I've been doing it. What do I think about Gorham getting killed off? I think that Gorham getting killed off is a really good example. Sorry, I got a work email. It's from Into the AM, funny enough. I will check that out later. Uh, Gorham, I think, was one of the least anticipated gods. I don't know about like the actual numbers, but I was not expecting Gorham of all the gods, honestly, to be taken out. So he was a really good, like, just wild card ripped out to throw people really off. Being the Lord of Iron as well, and the fact that his armor becomes like artifacts, also a really cool idea. So I think Gorham's very interesting. Yeah, that's true, Rising. It was impactful, and that's the thing. Like, death in any media should be impactful. Like, it should be a character that people will feel the death of, and I think Gorham was perfect for that. So I wanted Torag, and I felt like with Torag that would have been very interesting for the dwarf lore, but apparently they had a different idea. But it was almost Torag. I was almost right. I'm happy it wasn't Torag because it seems like he's doing something else cool, but also I was so close to being right. So yeah, I don't know. I think it was a good thing. I think it was very interesting, and having another god die, you know, during the setting rather than Aradin, who died before the setting, I think is way more interesting. So I think it's really cool. To be fair, I'm also not a Gorhamite, so not that I think he's bad. I think he's really cool. I just never like got into him like some people have got into him. So, you know, for some, it's a different thing altogether. Yeah, exactly, Rising. There's a lot of exciting stuff, and the God's Reign stuff looks really, really interesting. So we are, my fiance is probably, after we're done with Kingmaker, we'll probably be doing like Pray for Death or something. So we'll probably do something slightly associated with God's Reign, but who knows. We are like level 8 right now in Kingmaker, and it's a 1 to 20, so we got some time. Also, what are your thoughts on what happened to Shaylin and Zon-Kuthon in Starfinder? I loosely know that they kind of fuse into one entity, but I'm not the biggest Starfinder person yet. Starfinder 2nd Edition definitely is going to make that a big difference for me. I don't think it's going to affect Pathfinder lore, though, if that's kind of what you're thinking. I think it's interesting, and a duality god is always, like, something interesting, but I'm sure it's way more fascinating than I even know of. So and for any of you who are new to the chat, I see some people jumping in. If you got any questions about War of Immortals, feel free to ask. I've been answering questions for the first 45 minutes of the stream, so I've just gotten caught up. Oh, yeah. Let's talk about, I want to talk about so everyone fussing about oh no, now Fighter is just a better exemplar because Gleaming Blade +2 icon. So +2 damage per weapon damage died, in all honesty, is not bad. That's pretty good. I mean, that's +4 damage as early as level 3. Which is pretty big in the early levels, if I'm going to be honest. Is it a ton of damage? Not necessarily, but it's definitely going to be impactful. And there's no arguing that it's strong, for sure. But I feel like people are not understanding why you play an exemplar in the first place. A fighter hitting, like, I don't know how many times I had to tell the Pathfinder community this. A fighter hitting harder does not invalidate how other classes play. It doesn't matter if the fighter's the best at dealing damage in the game. Many, many, many combat scenarios are made easier or more difficult, not by how much damage you're doing, but by what you're capable of doing. You know what a fighter really, really hates more often than not? Archers, like, sitting up out of reach. If they're a melee fighter anyway. If they're a range fighter, then it's kind of whatever. But, like, enemies on, like, pedestals or in watchtowers, insanely difficult to deal with. Also, you know what? Hordes of mooks. It doesn't matter how much damage a fighter does. If you don't do area damage, you're just gonna get swarmed, and your proficiency to hit, like, you can kill an enemy with every swing. You're still gonna be doing less overall damage than an area like spellcaster would anyway. So, a lot of people really don't understand that. Like, yeah, sure, damage is good. Don't get me wrong. The damage from Gleaming Blade is pretty good, but the Transcendent ability isn't even that good for fighter necessarily. And, like, if I'm gonna be honest, it's like, cool, your fighter gets a slightly better weapon. I'm happy for you, but that's about it. And hit for hit, you still don't match up to a barbarian anyway. So, yeah, exactly, Dev Phoenix. I mean, in all honesty, the fighter, just really all they need to do is just put on the +2 bonus per weapon damage die and be good, be happy. That's it. But if you get enjoyment from doing bigger damage number, that's fine. That's not what I find personally fun in tabletop, and if I'm gonna be honest, that doesn't make your narrative that much more interesting either. So, is there any support for a firearm exemplar in the class's kit? Yeah, I mean, anything that uses range. They have an icon. I don't even think Failing Bow is necessarily just for bows, is it? Unfailing Bow, a ranged weapon. Yeah. Unfailing Bow and Starshot just require a ranged weapon and can be applied to a gun. So, there's not any gun-specific stuff, and reloading is still going to be much a problem. But if you're using a ranged weapon, there's ranged weapon things. Stealth is needed or not. A barb or fighter is a super effective lock breaker, hole opener. I mean, a fighter with a bludgeoning legendary weapon is cool. Let's not dip into Stormwind fallacy, low. A fighter with a... Do you find exemplar archetype problematic from a balance perspective? No, I do not. I don't know why anyone would. Combat is not just damage numbers. It's not... +2 damage per weapon damage die is not that big in the grand scheme of how combats work typically. Just got here. Have I mentioned anything about the new class archetypes? I have. If you want to ask any specific questions, though, feel free. Hello, Corey. Welcome to the party. And Eternal Sleep, let me make a special mention as well. Is the weapon cool because it's legendary or because it does more damage? In your opinion? Because if we're talking about the lore behind what makes the gleaming, the weapon legendary, yeah, I agree. That's really, really cool. It's very, very interesting. But that's not what people are talking about. People are talking about the extra damage they get, which is less interesting. So, Blood Rager, really cool. Not Sorcerer. There's nothing sorceress about Blood Rager. So, the Blood Rager Instinct allows you to cast spells with... it allows you to cast spells that you gain through the class archetype of either arcane. So when you select the class archetype, you pick either arcane or divine spells, and that's where you select your spells from. You get the same kind of like multi-class archetype spell casting, so basic spell casting. You actually only get up to the expert spell casting, but any spells you gain through the archetype gain the rage trait. And if that particular spell requires an attack roll, you can add your rage damage. Though Blood Rager does have the lowest rage damage, maxing out at 8, which is, you know, a small price to pay for the ability to cast spells while raging. So Blood Rager, hit for hit, is a bit weaker than other barbarians, but you get the ability to use spells, and from the arcane list, all this like weapon storm and everything like that. Honestly, it's really cool. It's very interesting. Definitely don't think it's particularly broken. Also, kind of a bit of a blood fetish. They can just drink an enemy's blood if they've successfully struck them with a slashing or piercing weapon and gain their constitution and temp HP. Pretty cool, honestly. And they have this mechanic that's interesting where, as a reaction to if they would fail a spell check, they can instead use a reaction to finish the spell, and then they become drained 1. But if they drink an enemy's blood, they actually reduce that drain condition. So even if they're a melee spellcaster and the enemy has reactive strike, they actually have reactions to prevent being disrupted, which is really cool. You know, Kokami, it's funny. I actually had my sister, when I was growing up, was really, really into Shaman King. And I recently watched the new version of Shaman King. Granted, I've only watched the base. I haven't watched any of the movies or the spin-off. It was interesting. I don't think it's quite the same as Animist. And to be fair, Shaman King's story gets really, really weird in the last third of it, if I'm going to be honest. But it's really cool. I do like Animist, and if you want to have that kind of pang to it, I definitely think that you can. Are there any non-mythic, non-class archetypes in this book? No. There are no normal archetypes, just like standard archetypes in this book. What's his casting ability? Let's see here. Charisma. Which, to be fair, isn't necessarily a bad one for Barbarian, considering demoralized Barbarian builds. But it is Charisma. You are a Charisma caster, no Con caster, which I think a lot of people were really hoping for. Honestly, I think that would have made sense. Patrick Lipinski says, what's your overall opinion on Animus? I think Animus is cool. I think it's very interesting. I don't think it necessarily hits any harder than other spellcasters, though they do have a stance they can get in that kind of makes them do sorcerer damage, which is kind of cool. I feel like Animus is going to be really good if you're someone who likes a spellcaster with a little bit more fiddliness with it, you know? If you need more stimulation playing a spellcaster, you know, you're someone who likes very complicated classes, I think Animus is going to be the class for you. Some of their features I think are also really cool, and the theming around it is unparalleled. Sorry, Gory. That's unfortunate. The new Hunter's Edge. I'm assuming you're speaking from the Vindicator. So, Vindicator's Edge is really cool. You get a +1 status bonus to your spell attack rolls against your hunted prey, and they take a -1 status penalty to your saving throws against divine spells you cast. You also gain the Vindicator's Mark Warden spell. Vindicator's Mark is a 1-action, it's like a Hunter's Mark from D&D. 60 feet, your target has to be your hunted prey. It is a fortitude-based save, and it lasts for a minute. So the enemy makes a fort save, and based on that save, they take extra damage from your attacks. The spell immediately ends if the target is no longer your hunted prey. So at crit success, nothing happens. On success, the target gains a weakness 5 to your next strike you make against it, or damaging divine spell you cast that includes it as a target, which is scary because that means if they fail a basic save, just 5 extra damage flat. But that's only on the next strike, and it can only happen until the end of your next turn. On failure, it's a 5 weakness to all strikes you make against it, or a damaging divine spell you cast against it until the spell ends. So on fail, it's for a minute, 5 weakness flat out. And on crit fail, the target is off guard against your first strike or divine spell attack you make against it. And then as you heighten, it gets up eventually to level to 15 weakness. So your hunted prey, because this can only work on your hunted prey, I'm going to make special mention that they automatically get a -1 status penalty to this save, just straight out the gate. So Vindicator's Judgment is really cool. You drop it on an enemy and you can do massive amounts of extra damage. And because it works on divine spells, as long as it's a save-based spell, they're very likely to at least take a little damage, always proccing the weakness. It's really, really good. So if you want to play a ranger who does some divine spell casting, Vindicator's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to see the different builds that go around that. Does Animus still have sustaining dance or whatever it was called from the playtest? The one that lets you step? No, I don't think they do, actually, which is very sad. They seem a lot more rooted now than they did before. Oh, no, actually, no, I think I remember someone mentioning that it got made a higher level feat. Let me double check real quick. The channel protection? No. I'm not seeing it. Let me see here. If I look up stat. Nope, they don't have the same one. It got removed, which is unfortunate. Well, to be fair, Gory, you know, one of the things about charisma is it doesn't necessarily have to be like eloquence. Your character can just have a presence. It doesn't even have to be like, you don't have to be good in conversations to have high charisma. Like, charisma mostly relates to like your character's overall presence. So if your character has like an intimidating presence, that would be high charisma, even if you're shit at talking. My favorite deity is not Noctigilla. I'm gonna abstain from answering that question right now, Patrick, because I feel like Divine Mysteries is gonna give us some really cool gods, and I'm already kind of hyped to see what's gonna be in that book. So I don't want to say something that's gonna be immediately made null like next month. But if I'm gonna be like honest at the moment. I like Irory, but that's because I'm someone who also likes to chase like personal perfection. And so I feel like if I was to exist in Galarian, Irory would probably be the god that I would follow personally. Even though he's far from the coolest god. There's also, actually, I do have another god I really, really like. Which is... Goodness, what is his name? It's been a minute. He's a vampire fae god. I think his name begins with R. I forget how many gods are in the game. Oh god, there's over 200 gods. Okay. I know darkness is one of his domains. Count Ranalk. Count Ranalk is a very fun guy. A Pharasmian. See, she's notoriously bad at making impression checks, so I guess intimidating would probably be fine. Yeah, and I mean, if it's just purely for your ability, I don't know. I don't know what stat you're giving up. Vampire Fae makes you happy? Me too. +200 gods, 200+ achievements to unlock. I am super stoked to see a lot of this stuff, to explore some of the deities and some of the monsters that have come out for War of Immortals. I definitely think that the mythology, especially now that Pathfinder has deviated more away from D&D. I mean, to be fair, their mythos have always kind of been separated, of course. But I feel like now they're just kind of going to be doing wild, like whatever. Like, the current creative staff for Paizo, I feel like, are more willing to do way more interesting things than they've been in the past. So I think we're going to start seeing more and more really cool and interesting things moving forward. What class archetype do I want to see next? Buttermilk Biscuit says, I want an inventor one. Please give me an inventor class archetype. I think that there's a lot of potential for a really interesting one. How good is Blood Rager at using buff spells, or just spells that don't require save/attack rolls in general? Gods know that there's this whole thing in Pathfinder 1 where they just get few buffs every time they rage. I mean, I would assume is they can use divine or arcane spells, which have some of the, most buffs in the game. Like tossing a bless on yourself, pretty good, honestly. Heroism, also really good. Whatever you want, I suppose. Why Inventor boo? What's wrong with Inventor? New gods are being added in Divine Mysteries, which is coming out next month. Probably have to drop int. Oof. Yeah, dropping int, that sucks because that means losing some trained proficiencies. Yeah, because Blood Rager just gets straight access to either Divine or Arcane spells. And they just pick a spell repertoire, so... Granted, they only get up to 6th level spells, but I do believe Heroism gets at least to the +2 or +3 at 6th level. Or 6th rank. So, we got that, at the very least. To be fair, if you're trying to go Blood Rager isn't an archetype. You have to select Blood Rager at level 1. That's the whole point of class archetypes. So... it's going to be almost a character rework anyway. Do I think they'll ever make Magus less clunky? I hope so. I really do. I don't think Magus is clunky. I feel like that's kind of a misnomer. Magus is just very tight action-wise. Like, clunky means like you aren't able to do the thing you want to do necessarily because your action economy gets in the way. It's more like Magus is like the objectively correct way to play is to spell strike as much as possible, which is just restrictive. Aren't we getting a Guns and Gears remaster? We are. And yeah, Torque, it's mostly a reprint, but they are bringing things up to snuff, and I guarantee they're going to throw in some changes. They're not going to go through all that development work and not throw in some interesting things. So we're going to see. Personally, I'd see psychics get some wisdom based on unconscious minds. You know, honestly, so this is just kind of one of the bad things about a game that's this expansive, right? Is there is a long time from when a class releases after core and when they get new things. So unfortunately, anything that's came after, even the player's guide, hasn't seen a ton, which is very unfortunate. Magus and player Pathfinder 1E was such a banger class. Yeah, Sword Saint was baller for sure. Honestly, Paizo just has the really tough problem of how do you make... See you, Eric. Nice seeing you here. Has the really tough problem of... Spell Strike is objectively just a really good action. Even if it's 3 actions because of recharging, even though you can just recharge using hybrid spells or the other many ways to recharge Spell Strike. Spell Strike is just insanely good. Like, objectively speaking, it's like there's not a lot of things you can do that justify the sheer difference in damage output, which feels kind of bad. I'd also love a bladed scarf focused archetype. I'm a weeb. That's fair. Though funny enough, speaking Magus, there is a bladed scarf Magus hybrid study, so you know. We do have something like that. Oh, do just Blood Rager spells and the archetype get the rage trait, or do spells from your chosen spell list get the rage trait? Only spells you get through the Blood Rager archetype. So whatever you get from Blood Rising and... Essentially, you get up to 6th rank spells that gain the rage trait. But it's not the type of spells, it's just spells you picked up through the class archetype. Yeah, Rising Blood Magic and Surging Blood Magic. Those are the only 2 feats that give you more spells. Oh, I'm sorry, not Surging. It's Exultant's blood magic. And I gotta state as well, Spell Drinker is such a cool feat. So with Spell Drinker, it's a 1-action Blood Rager feat. Your last action was to harvest blood, where you drink the blood from an enemy. And you can do this once per hour. You temporarily add a 3rd rank spell to your spell repertoire as determined by the type of creature you just drank blood from. If the creature has more than 1 trait, choose 1 gain through with the appropriate spell. If the granted spell is not on your chosen list tradition, you cast that spell as though it was on your tradition. And the spell is removed from your spell repertoire after 24 hours. But like if you drink the blood of like an animal, you get summon animal, which I think is really, really cool. So Blood Ranger's just got some real fun stuff, if I'm going to be honest. Like Spell Drinker, really, really good. To be fair, the Tiansha character guide is an insanely good book. The sheer number of ancestry, the ancestries are also really, really good. But just all the really cool stuff in that book, that's a very solid book. Definitely worth a purchase. Actually, funny enough, mentioning that, I will be... Let's see, 1 second. I will be doing a buyer's guide this like early December after Divine Mysteries. I'll be doing a buyer's guide for Pathfinder 2nd edition because there's a lot of books out, and with the remaster, everything feels a little mixed up. So if you're unsure what books you want to buy, I will be releasing a video giving you guys a guide on all the books I think you should be looking at, or what order, or you know what price ranges you should be looking at. Have you ran/played in the Kingmaker 2E Adventure Path? Yes, my fiance is, funny enough, running it for me, and you know, our friends. So it's been a lot of fun. We're level 8 currently, and it's been a blast. Have you played /GM much of the new upcoming classes? I want to say Commander and Guardian. No, not typically. Unfortunately, being a content creator for tabletop, like in general, I just don't get a lot of time to run excess of games. Currently, my game of fancy has been Fabula Ultima. We've been running that on Saturdays. And we are running, currently, Mutants and Masterminds as I was getting art and getting ready for Plague Watch, which will be coming out soon. But Plague Watch will just, the newest class will be literally Exemplar. So, haven't played any of the new stuff straight out yet. Just don't really get the time. But they do look interesting. Commander is definitely going to be a favorite class of mine for sure. Exemplar remains mechanically stronger than the Animist, or are they more balanced? Depends on what you mean mechanically stronger, I suppose. I think I kind of get the gist of what you're saying, and I would probably say yes. But they definitely tuned up Animus. Animus runs buttery smooth now. It's just, you know, not like a very intense class, personally. It's just, there's a lot of moving parts to Animist. But I don't think Animus does anything super crazy, mechanically speaking. It's just a lot of bookkeeping, because you have prepared spells, repertoire spells, and all those changes. So it can be a little weird. How's the baby? Which one? The cats or the human baby? Because human baby is not born yet. Human baby will come out. Or will come out. The release of my daughter will be in January. So look forward to that release. Is there anything cool about the 2 other class archetypes? There's more than 2 other class archetypes. Avenger is really cool. Vindicator is very interesting. It's very interesting how many of these are actually straight up just spellcaster variants of marshals, which is kind of cool. Seneschal is also very good. If you're a very like big brain player, Seneschal is insane. They're all really, really cool. The only one I haven't really looked too much into is Warrior of Legends. But Warrior of Legend is just like, you want to play Achilles? That's the character. Humble Bundle. Bundle of the Dead is almost over if people want a Book of the Dead and Impossible Lands for cheap. True. By the way, I should make special mention. I'm a Pathfinder fan, you know. Even though I get most of the books for me, like for free, the only one I didn't get was Impossible Lands, but we bought it recently. But I recently, my fiance gave me a sketch cover. 1 second. We bought the Player Core sketch cover. Well, my fiance bought it for me for my birthday, but like, I bought it. I love Paizo stuff. They're really good. The sketch covers are my favorite. I hope more games do sketch cover stuff like this as special editions. I think they're really, really cool. But yeah. No, not yet. My daughter will be born in January, mid-January. But we're very excited to meet her, and she's currently very healthy. What is Seneschal? Seneschal is a witch class archetype that allows you to eventually just become a full-on patron, which is really, really cool. Seneschal is a team mom, pretty much. It's a really fun one, though. I really like it. I think if I play a witch, I might do Seneschal. I think it's really cool. The baby expansion is going to be crazy. I know. I'm going to be covering that expansion for years to come. Also, How the Wild, another really, really good book. I really like that one as well. What's my favorite AP? This is from Patrick as well. My favorite adventure path. We haven't done many adventure paths, to be fair. I mean, the favorite one I played so far has been Kingmaker, but if I was to like hazard a guess as to one I would like a lot, ooh, that's really hard because Fist of the Ruby Phoenix actually looks like it'd be a lot of fun, but Pray for Death also looks like it'd be really, really fun. So there's a lot of contention, but technically I have to say the only two I've played so far has been Age of Ashes, which is, it's very obvious it was their first adventure path, so it's kind of a little janky for second edition anyway. And the Kingmaker's really good, though the kingdom rules are kind of scuffed, so you have to kind of adjudicate a lot of that stuff. And if you don't like playing micromanagey civilization games, that stuff very much falls off, but there's a lot of cool adventure stuff, and it's very Fae-centric, which is very fun. Yeah, Seneschal is the you're a witch. It gives you a lot of like ability to be everywhere at once is kind of the best stuff. Yeah, I can say, like, picking up the dedication for Seneschal itself, you gain the Witch's Charge class feat. And then you get a lot of stuff like Seneschal Spell that allows you to use your ally who's your charge, as long as they're within 30 feet of you, to act as the origin point for one of your spells, which is really cool. The Warrior of Legend, literally you just become like Achilles. Like, the dedication itself, as long as you're not wearing heavy armor or a shield, any spear or polearm you're wielding gains the parry trait. And if it has the parry trait for whatever reason, it becomes +2. In addition, you deal additional amount of damage equal to your doomed value with weapons in the spear and polearm groups. This damage is the same type as the required weapon. It's really interesting. It's got some really cool features. And also, I'm super hyped to see a class focused on spears and polearms. Spears and polearms are some of my favorite weapons in games, and they don't get enough love, in my opinion. What, the baby likes D&D better than Pathfinder? Well, they're a baby and they're allowed to be stupid. That was a low blow. You know, I mean, we'll see what D&D even looks like. D&D might be good by the time she's ready to play games, so who knows. I want D&D to be a good game. I have no specific brand loyalty. Pathfinder just happens to be my favorite game right now, but I cover other games on my channel as well. If she likes D&D, I can only hope it's because D&D is good at the time. Let's see. Catherine Berger says, my home game is about to start stealing plot lines and story bits from Wardens of the Wildwood. That's a great thing. Many of the adventure paths are so good for just stealing stuff out of to do your own storylines with, or to start off playing the adventure path and then to branch off and like augment it your own. Some of my favorite games I've played in have been mostly games that started off as adventure paths and then were homebrewed into their own unique thing, which I think honestly is a way you should play adventure paths. I don't think you should play adventure paths like by the book till the end. I feel like you should play them and expand their story to match your group. Steal the maps. Yeah, that's also a good point. Yeah, stealing the maps, especially on Foundry. Oh my god. On Foundry, they give you so many like terrain maps for where you can build cities and stuff like that. Utterly perfect for making large-scale battle maps on it. They're really, really good. Really want to play Ruby Phoenix, but need to get 4 people interested and capable of playing a 10+ adventure. Yeah, I mean, that's the normal, you know. My friend recently is like, man, I wish I had people to play Pathfinder with. And it's like, yeah. That's why I made it my career. That's why I made it my job to be a tabletop content creator. You have to play tabletop in that regard. So, you know, pick a better job, I guess. Skill issue. I've been running a home game set on Mediogalti, and I've been wanting to pick up Pray for Duchess for all the lore. True. Yeah, Mediogalti is also very, very interesting as well. I love the Red Mantis Assassins. I think they're very, very interesting. I'm running Kingmaker for my group right now. I just finished playing in Fist of the Ruby Phoenix, and it was very fun. Yeah, Fist of the Ruby Phoenix, honestly, is one of the ones I'd like to check out at some point in the future. What weapon types are options for icons? All of them. There's an icon for every type of damage or weapon type you can use. Even unarmed. In fact, many of the weapon ones can be used for unarmed strikes that deal the same type of damage. Gleaming Blade, the one that everyone is panicking about because it's so good, can be used for like a claw build for Claw Dancer, which I think would be really, really cool. So an exemplar Claw Dancer, I think genuinely is really good. What are you going to name the child, and why is it Nocticula? Our daughter's name is Bellatora Aurora Ray. You wouldn't download a Fantasy Kingdom. I would. I would, Catherine. Don't test me. When you say ask me anything, does that include asking what dedication feat for Animus looks like? Yeah, sure. Of course, Michael. Just the dedication feat? The dedication feat... Uh-oh. What is my mouse doing? I think I have crumbs on my desk. The dedication feats for Animists. So the dedication feat, you get to choose a single apparition from the Animists. There's 10 of them. You become bound to this apparition and can attune to it each day during your daily preparations. And you become trained in its apparition skills, which are lore skills. At 8th level, you become expert, and at 16th level, you become master. Don't get legendary, but who cares? They're lore skills anyway. You can spend 1 day of downtime ending your relationship with the apparition and bonding to a new one. Yeah, you can spend a day of downtime ending the relationship. I'm sorry, Crafter in the Forge. It's not you, it's me. You get the cast a spell activity, and you can prepare 2 common cantrips each day from the divine spell list or any other divine cantrip you have access to, including the cantrip listed in your apparition's spells. Oh, you also get your apparitions cantrips. I actually didn't really read that before. You're trained in the spell attack modifier and spell DC statistics. Your spellcasting attribute for this is wisdom, and they are divine animus spells. Archetype best god. I mean, you know, Archetype just slayed Gorham. He has got to be badass. Red Mantis assassins are almost an inside joke among my group. We love them all. Yeah, they're really good. They're fun. I'm a player wanting to pick it up ASAP, and I'm curious to see if my DM's mock-up is similar to the final one. Yeah, I mean, it's not like too much outside the standard. You just get 1 apparition, but the only things you really pick up from it are the lore skills and the cantrip. That's about it. So, nothing super fancy. My DM was actually super close with this quick homebrew. Sick, haha. Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? You do enough Pathfinder, you kind of start reading the intent of the designers, and it becomes very easy to anticipate. I now wish for staves to count as polearm spears. Yeah, I can see that, but I do like all the stave specific stuff, like Staff Magus is insanely fun, so, you know, I think they get their own cool things, for sure. But I get what you mean. Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's just how they do it, and it's how it's balanced, so it's not really a particularly big deal. Animus gives me spooky druid vibes or depressed druid. Fair. Honestly. I mean, you talk to spirits all day, so it makes a lot of sense. You could do it. The number one thing I really love about Animist is the apparitions you generally deal with can really determine like what your character is like. They're really good for theming. All right, Gory, have a good one. We're almost done with stream here anyway. We got another 20-ish, or not 20-ish minutes. No, yeah, about 20 minutes. So we're almost done. But if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask. I am more than happy to answer any questions I can. Not doing full book review stuff at this moment, but I'll answer any questions. Man, I even talked about the drama. What else is there to just chat about while people are writing their questions? I don't know. You know what? I do love... So, the character for the exemplar class, or multi-class archetype dedication, like the image for it is a woman playing a liar. And it's like, that's so the opposite of what people are picking for the exemplar for. It's so funny. It seems ironic. What are your thoughts on the Mythic destinies? I haven't looked into them so much. They seem like fun, all of them. They are especially the Beast Lord. Like, let me read a couple of feats from Beast Lord here. Yeah, so they get a really cool feat called Bat Around, where you make a melee strike against an enemy. It's a 2-action, so you make a melee strike against an enemy. As long as your strike deals damage to that target, you can then either attempt to reposition or shove the creature. both attacks count towards your multi-attack penalty, but you don't apply the penalty until after you made both attacks. If the creature then ends adjacent to your united companion, which is the animal companion you get from Beast Lord, your animal companion can then make a strike. So you can literally do a set and spike with your animal companion, which is really, really fun. I think that's super cool. So yeah, just reading one feat randomly, I think a lot of these are going to be really, really good. Also, Beast Lord, at level 18, they get Creature of Myth, and your animal companion gains some mythic quality like chimeric heads. Is really cool. So Beast Lord, man, that one seems super exciting. Yeah, Beast Lord is essentially, it requires you have an animal companion, and you just make them badass. Pathfinder video game. Oh yeah, Dragon's Demand. We'll talk about that here in a moment. I'm actually thinking we might get multi-classing in the video game Kickstarter. It's trending in the right direction. We'll see. I know Pathfinder is such an advanced game, and unlike what we had with Owlcat Games, you know, a company that's done CRPGs and does a lot of that kind of work. We'll have to see what Dragon's Demand really comes out with. But they seem to be going in the right direction. And even if it's kind of like a, you know, like a B tier game, I think that's great. I think if we get people to play around with the Pathfinder system in video game form, even if it's not like super high quality, I think a lot of people will get more interested in the game just because of how fun the mechanics are. Is the War of Legends locked to spear, or was the example just a spear because it uses them? Warrior of Legend uses spears and or pole arms, but those are the two that it uses. Can Vindicator take Domain Initiate at level 1 and gain at 4 to meet the prerequisites to get another archetype? Had issues with multiclassing out of archetypes before level 8 in the past. Let me see. I actually don't know about that. I think they might be able to. Though I don't think you can get out. I don't think they have any skill feats, so I don't think you can get out of it before level 8, though. Yeah, they get Domain Initiate. I don't see any skill feats. But they can get Domain Initiate, which is actually really good. They also can get Instructive Strike, which is very interesting as well. So, Mythic Destiny is based on the Mythic progression. And essentially what happens is you play... so Mythic progression is where you play as a Mythic character. You can get Mythic feats, and you get these Mythic feats like bonus feats every even level. And then at level 12, you select a Mythic Destiny, and that's where you get the really cool like Beast Lord stuff. So, very similar if you played Wrath of the Righteous, but essentially your character is a Mythic character up until level 12. And then at level 12, you get a Mythic Destiny. To be honest, I'd rather just have normal archetypes than multi-class archetypes. Yeah, I agree, but I feel like the multi-class archetypes are simpler by design more often than not, so I feel like that would be easier for them. Would you say Exemplar is fun, having seen what it can play to you? Oh yeah, Dom. Exemplar is super good. It's just a fun martial character. It's a fun martial character that has some extra gimmicks. Like, when I said
that the exemplar is one step up from fighter. It didn't mean damage. It didn't mean anything like that. It's literally, okay, I liked fighter, but I wanted something that had a little bit more to it, a little bit more of like a mechanic to play with. And that's exactly what exemplar is. For me, it's really good because it's like, oh yeah, now I get to figure out like how I want to rotate my icons. And the icons and the fact that you're building an epithet with your character is really good. Is there an animist subclass that fill interesting niches that you have noticed? Yes. Though that depends on what you mean by interesting. The seer, for instance, is really, really good against haunts and spirits and incorporeal undead. So that would be a niche. I don't know if that would be necessarily interesting. Also, even though I talked about medium in the video, I don't like medium too much. I think it's not that. I don't think it's that interesting. If I'm going to be honest, what did Shaman do? I don't remember. Oh, Shaman gives you, yeah. Shaman though allows you to just be a familiar user, which is very cool. And the fact that you just get to have one of your apparitions just become a familiar is very, very interesting. Oh, Dead Phoenix. So, they did remove that stance that allowed you to step or whatever when you sustained a spell, but Liturgist gets it. It's not a feat anymore, but the Liturgist animistic practice does. At level 9, you get Dancing Invocation. So whenever you leap, step, or tumble through, you also sustain an apparition spell or vessel spell. So they did give it, but you do have to be a Liturgist specifically. And then Circle of Spirits, what did that one do? I think that just let you rotate your... Yeah, once per round, you just choose another apparition to be your main one. So they're interesting. I don't think any of them are that wildly different, but I do like that Shaman just gives you like a familiar that's one of your spirits. I think that's really fun. Aw, man, no game that I've played has gone past level 10. That's sad. I like how powerful icons can be because only one can be active at a time. Exactly. I think they're really interesting. And I like how they're all really good so that you do want to swap them, honestly. Rip Mythic Destiny. That's sad. Oh my god, that's so sick. Physically manifesting your apparition as a familiar. Yeah, it's really cool. Ah, I think I remember them saying it was no longer a feat. I was kind of hoping it would be a thing for all of them to get, but one class at level 9 is fine, I guess. Yeah. It kind of sucks because honestly, Shaman is very rooted. Like, or not Shaman, Animist. Again, I really don't like... I don't know what they were thinking when it came to Relinquish Control. I don't think it's a good feat, honestly. And the fact that you can't stride while using it makes it worse. Them moving the feat of a sustaining plus stepping leaping sucked, but it made sense. If it stayed level 1, everyone would have taken the dedication feat so fast. Yeah. All right, Dom. Have a good one. Next up will be Mythic rules. Mythic rules will be coming out tomorrow. I'll be giving my own rendition of the Mythic rules, and I'll try my best to explain them as cleanly and clearly and simply as I can. So. Familiars need more love. I agree. I think familiars are really, really cool. And I think Paizo understands how powerful they are, and that's why they're kind of on a slower keel. But I think they're still doing really good. Mythic monsters? There are mythic monsters. So mythic monsters are more just like bossier boss versions of monsters, really. You can consider them being like a level or two higher than the level they are, but that level isn't represented necessarily in their stats. Like a level 5 creature is going to hit for the same multipliers or the same bonuses, but what they can do is more. They get more abilities, more nasty things. Like they have a Mythic Lich enemy. Oh my god. They're talking about the Mythic soul cages. And it says a Mythic Lich might bind a fearsome and nearly immortal creature to serve as its soul cage, or an entire island. That's really cool. Might be more interesting if they had different effects and powers. They do have different effects and powers. What do you mean? That's literally what I just said. I'm just saying their bonuses are the same. But what they can do is wildly different. Honestly, I think Relinquish Control just doesn't give anything that's worth all the stuff you give up for it. Oh, no worries, Corey. There are some feats that are kind of based on Relinquish Control, but for a level 1 feat, it's just like, I don't know when I would use it at level 1, right? And that's weird for a level 1 feat. It should be something you should be able to use at level 1. It's mostly good for recall knowledge checks at level 1. And as I said in the video, yay, my architecture lore I'm sure will be super handy right now. Eventually it lets you do some cool stuff, but, you know, I just feel like early game medium's not super great. Which sucks because it's literally the one practice that has a specific bond with a particular apparition that you like have to attune to. Which sounds really interesting. Sounds very narrative. But Relinquish Control just doesn't do anything super special. I'm gonna be honest. Like, if your DM is using mind control at level 1, man. that seems a little overkill if you ask me. Let's see, what is the earliest benefit you can get for Relinquish Control? Level 8, I think. And that just lets you use grapple, reposition, shove, and trip. Though you do get a +2 status bonus to this check, which is not bad. Is that the only feat that does it? Is it a stance? It's not. Yeah, it's kind of bad, not gonna lie. Medium is only fun after what? 9th level. Nope, I lied. Not 9th level. Well, I mean, having 2 primary ones and getting access to both your vessel spells is pretty good. But that has nothing to do with Relinquish Control, pretty much. That feature can be just, yeah, I don't know. It seems like the Mythic is one step closer to a divine godlike player. Think they will ever go there? I mean, it's doable. Just the scale of the powers will get out of control. I think Mythic is about as far as we're going to get, honestly. I feel like anything more, I don't think they'll do more. I think adding more would just kind of seem Like, the point of Mythic play is to play a godlike, like, demigod character. And going full godlike, that's a very different game altogether. Like, gods don't work the same way that normal characters do. So, like, anything that goes even further beyond would feel more redundant. So I feel like Mythic rules are kind of just where we're going to see the end of it. Well, we're coming up to the end here, so I can answer maybe 1 or 2 more questions. So if you have anything now, ask now. Did Exemplar get any sling support feats? From Victor Teslauru. Where to next? Divine Mysteries. Divine Mysteries comes out next month. So we got Divine Mysteries. As for me, I'm going to be doing a video on the new Mythic rules tomorrow. I'll be doing the class archetypes. I'll be doing the multi-class archetypes, and I'll probably look into the Mythic destinies. Though each Mythic destiny might be in its own video. I don't know. That might be a little bit too much. I'm not sure. Right now, I already have my plate pretty full with just what I got. So by the end of what I currently got, we'll see if we do Mythic destinies or not. As far as Exemplar getting sling specific, I mean, Exemplar does have just range specific things. I don't think they have anything pertaining to a sling specifically. No, not to a sling specifically, but they do have things for ranged weapons, which all applies to the sling. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, it'd just be a different game, more or less, so. And then Divine Mystery is going to have a bunch of new class archetypes, which is going to be super cool. I really hope that we're going to start seeing class archetypes more and more frequently moving forward. I also hope we're going to start seeing some stuff for some of the classes that just haven't gotten a ton. Inventor has been kind of left in the dust. Gunslinger got some stuff, but Psychic really hasn't gotten anything. Thaumaturge hasn't gotten anything. And I mean, to be fair, that's just how this goes when you have a game constantly adding new classes. But unfortunately, what it creates is this weird division where it's just like, oh, look at all these classes that have a ton of support, and then all these newer classes that have very little support. Like, it makes sense, but when you look at it from a pure, like, big picture perspective, new classes just feel way underappreciated because they're newer and haven't had the time. But because all the new stuff they release just gives more and more options to older classes, you know. So I want to see more stuff. I want to see stuff for like Inventor. I want to see stuff for Psychic and Thaumaturge. I would love to see what they do with Kineticist moving forward. Kineticist already has so much in its kit. I just don't know what they could put into that. Like, that car's full. That bitch done be full. So I don't know what they would add on to Kineticist, but I don't know. Maybe then add some new feats, new impulses would be really cool. Sure. Go ahead, that one guy. Go ahead. No one else is asking any questions. Void and vitality elements. I mean, yeah. Honestly, a cosmic like maybe a chaos, like a maelstrom kineticist that can pull straight from the maelstrom all kinds of wacky stuff. How would you use a kobold / dragonborn to make the old spell scale kobold? They made almost any class into a caster. Well, half caster. What do you mean, how would you? Like, are you asking for like a particular build? Like, are you looking for more spell casting? Are you referring to 1E stuff? Or are you referring to the Draconic Disciple? Yeah, no, they don't really give spellcasting anymore. Really, either of them do. Oh, Spellhorn, you get first and second rank spells. Yeah, just not as much spellcasting as you want. And no, I'm talking a second edition before the remaster. Okay, but like, what are you asking? Are you asking for a build, or are you asking for what they could do before? Like, I'm not sure what it is you want. Do you want me to tell you feats that they had before? Because it seems like before, the most they got to was 4th level spells. Or 4th rank spells. Because I'm looking at the old stuff now, and they didn't really have anything that went that high, so I don't know what you're referring to. I think you're thinking of a thing that has not existed. If you're talking just through Ancestry, no. So that should answer your question. I don't think there's anything pre-remaster. Though, to be fair, like, many of the versatile heritages still just exist from what they had before. Also, you could be, I think, like a half elf, and I think you get a lot of spells that way. But there's not a lot that just give you spells, honestly, as far as ancestry feats. Especially not as high as 7th or 8th rank. That's really high for even ancestry spells. So if you're looking purely ancestry, I don't think there is a thing that exists that you're looking for. If you're not talking about that, then multi-class archetyping, you know, can be really good. I'll wait a little bit longer to see if you can, I guess, find this link, but like Archive and Nethys has legacy content on there, and Kobolds couldn't even do that much before. All right, see you, Michael. Have a nice one. Well, I guess I'm going to stay here for a little bit longer, so if anyone else has any questions. Can you talk a bit on the new class archetypes? Sure. Which one would you like me to talk about? Great God, Ganesha. Yeah. Like, in Legacy content, the highest Kobold-related feats was Elite Dracomancer, which gave you a 3rd level spell and a 4th level spell. I mean, if we're just talking about any of the class archetypes, let's look at Vindicator some more. Because I'm very interested in Vindicator. Oh, okay. I can just tell you. I can just give you a rough rundown. So we have the Avenger, which is a rogue class archetype. And the rogue, it's more of a, like, you're a divine executioner. And you have a bunch of things about, like, finding and slaying heretics. Really, really cool. Blood Rager is you sacrifice some of your rage damage, but you're able to cast a few spells. And you also have a lot of cool abilities around drinking blood, which is kind of fun. You even get the ability to, you know, drink a creature's blood and gain magic once per hour, which is kind of cool. The Seneschal is a witch that allows you, is a witch class archetype that allows you to eventually become a patron. And its whole aspect is kind of just being everywhere at once. It's really, really interesting. Vindicator, you're a holy ranger who is a ranger more based on spell casting. You get access to Domain Initiate as a feat, and you get a lot of benefits for spell casting and for hunting down your enemies using magic spells. Very interesting. And then finally we have Warrior of Legend, which is a fighter-specific class archetype that focuses on the use of both spears and polearms. You just become badass. You get resistances, you do extra damage, and do all kinds of cool things. And for you, that one guy, if you're looking for just 4th level spells, Then you probably, like, again, multi-class archetyping, or not multi-class, going like a hybrid ancestry into like elf or something can get you there. Some of the versatile heritages can give you some spells, but most of them are like 2nd level spells, maybe 3rd level spells. Of course, Great God. But yeah, I think the best way is honestly just to go like half a more magic-y ancestry, to be honest. That's probably the best way to get more spell casting. Which, to be fair, thinking of an elf kobold is very interesting, honestly. Let's see, what elven magic can we get to? Otherworldly acumen, 2nd rank spell. Not even elf really, all too much, yeah. Does Warrior of Legend get more access to reposition? That is a genuinely good question. Let's see here. No, sad. I mean, I guess they get access to Clear the Way and Unbalancing Sweep. I don't think those are repositioned, though. That is sad. They just get a lot of stuff on being doomed. Yeah, I'm glad with the new snare changes, for sure. They definitely have made snares a lot more fun to play with. But, alright, that's going to be it for me. Thank y'all so much for being here. Hopefully y'all enjoyed. More videos are coming up. I'm going to be doing some research on all the Mythic rules, and I'll be explaining those tomorrow. And then over the weekend, we're probably just going to get into... I'll do the multi-class archetypes because everyone seems to be super hot on the multi-class archetypes. And then the... Any sport to shove or a position would be cool to see. Yeah, it would. But I'll probably be getting into the class archetypes into next week. And maybe we'll get into the Mythic destinies because they are very cool. But they are as long, or if not longer than most archetypes. So, you know, kind of longer videos. But there's a lot of content in this book, and I'm just happy to see Paizo really leaning into class archetypes. I think it's the right move. I think making the classes have more interesting options for how to play with them is really good. Oh, sorry, Third. I missed your question earlier. You can check back earlier in the video. Well, I guess I can mention the Mythic Paths. One more, just for you, Third. Just for you. I'll go through the Mythic Destinies one more time. So we have the Apocalypse Rider. We have the Arc Fiends. We have the Ascended Celestial. We have the Beast Lord, probably my favorite, honestly. We have the Broken Chain. We have the Eternal Legends. We have the Godling. And we have the Prophesized Monarch. Oh, and we have the Wild Spell. Top 3 domains for Vindicator. Athletics is definitely going to be one of them. Zeal is probably also another good one. And Fire. But yeah, that's going to be it. So, more stuff coming up. We'll probably have another stream next week. The book releases on the 23rd. So next Wednesday, the book will release, and then we'll have another stream kind of talking about all the stuff. And I'll have a much better idea of the book since I'll probably have read most of it by that time. So yeah, I'm very excited. Lots of stuff. We are almost to 8K subs. And then we're trying to make a mad dash to 10K by the end of the year. My goal is to get 10K by the end of the year. So let's see if we can do that. As always, leave a comment down in any of the videos if you want to see some specific content. I tend to read the comments and try to, please the people. And yeah, that's going to be it for me. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you have a good night. Bye.